this is where we left. And we had a short look at this in between in the break. And then we saw that there are a few things that really can be clustered together. So our suggestion would be that we see some things that are about preparation beforehand, preparing yourself, understanding the teachings, understanding the process of dying, but also understanding within yourself actually self-knowledge, the different parts of you, and how these different parts of you also react to this process. Starting today, because we all encounter these moments where people die, where people around us pass away, but that doesn't mean that we can. Of course, we are already, as Plato says, philosophers should do, preparing ourselves for death every day. We can think about what is really this process going on, and if we understand it from a point of view of consciousness, we do that on a daily basis. So, and there were a few things we recognized could connect to that. We have some things that are very much about the moment of dying. Actually, what Erika talked about just now also, you call it memento mori? Yeah, or memento mori. So what is going on in the moment, and how to react in the moment when someone undergoes this process. And we also saw something that is addressing the people around the person who dies. So that is more into explaining what happens to others and help them with their grief. So what we thought, we just made we made bold these 4 clusters, and then just go one by one to see, okay, where does it fit in? Or maybe someone says, okay, I see another cluster, or maybe we can call it in a different way. Then please react. So we have to do this together. And again, this is an experiment, so it's a bit of improvising what we do here. Okay, Henk?
It's visible. Okay, so it's good now. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, we hope that when we cluster it, we can, how do you say? Indicate. Compress it. Jonathan?
It seems like there's that sentence that says there's something in you that never dies. That's way up at the top. Mm-hmm. And that possibly could be clustered with a thing from the Gita, grieve not.
Yes.
That one.
Yes. And where do you think that is that a separate cluster, or does it fit in one of the 4 that we proposed? We just moved it together now, but
I'm going to ask a stupid question. What are the original 4? I thought that was one of the original.
So yes, I can imagine. So one was preparation.
Yes.
Then starting today. Mm-hmm. Then the moment of dying.
Yes.
And the last one is addressing, helping others to cope with the grief that comes with dying. Is that?
I think preparing, possibly.
What do you mean with preparing? Where does that fit in? Preparing.
It might fit in with a lot of them. It might, but for sure preparing, and it would also help with the grieving.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah.
Because Krishna says, don't grieve for those that shouldn't really be grieved for. Mm-hmm. So that's one side of it. But then on the other hand, knowing, like in preparing for death and being afraid and anxious about it, just being reassured by a friend or just by one's own higher self that, you know what, there's something in me that will never die. So it's kind of at least more than one of those clusters, perhaps.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, we can maybe even copy paste it and give it a place in more places. So, well, maybe about the clusters first. Are there any comments, Ben?
Maybe you can call it a vision on this. That how do you look at what is going to happen?
Okay.
And that is the basic vision on before the other topics are in.
So we could call the cluster "Preparing for Yourself a Vision on Death." Is that what you suggest? Yeah. Okay, I guess that's a clear cluster. Can we? So yeah, preparing for yourself a vision on death and dying, or vision on death. As long as we understand what it means. Okay, that's a good way to put it. Maybe we can already indeed name the clusters then. Preparing a vision on death. So the next one would be starting today. Starting today, working on yourself, maybe? With a capital S? Barend?
Oh, Erwin, I'm going to make it more difficult, but I think you have to divide all the things in two teams. One, individual. What should I or you do as an individual to help our neighbors in concerning all the problems of end of life? And the second one is, what should the Theosophical movement do in order to change the climate in the world so that we have more knowledge and we can better handle all those issues, modern issues of end of life. Okay. So two responsibilities, one individual and one for the Theosophical movement.
Yeah. I have a suggestion, because we saw this is a very important question, but actually it could be applied to all the issues we are talking about. So not only end-of-life issues, but also depression, and also what we talked about yesterday. So our suggestion was, let's make some time free tomorrow evening and particularly talk about this shared responsibility we have, and think about what to do with that. Is that okay? Yeah?
Thank you. Just preparing a vision on death. It sounds odd, the word vision. It's not clear. We cannot quietly prepare a vision. So perhaps it's semantics.
Yeah.
Just perhaps put between aspects, or between question mark, and leave it to improve later on.
I guess we mean like a how do you say, a clear image, like a more a Buddhic insight. So preparing.
What do you mean by preparing a vision on death?
So like a vision on life. You know, you have a vision on life that helps you overcome certain issues, because you have a certain vision. For instance, you have a theosophical vision on life, and that helps you.
A viewpoint, perhaps?
A viewpoint, perspective. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. But the suggestion is, well, as long as we, I mean, we can, yeah.
Yeah, I have preparing a vision. I would think, nothing personal. It sounds a little clumsy, I think, because a vision is something that arises usually. So her point of preparing a viewpoint might be more accurate, the process.
Yeah.
Right, and maybe a vision arises out of that. Yeah.
Okay, but I think that the key is the vision, the insight. So maybe we can, like, preparing a viewpoint could be like a really on a just day-to-day level, you know.
Right.
Okay, my view is more like an opinion. So
yeah, but the question is, can you
for
prepare a vision? That's the question.
No, that's not the good word. But
right. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a suggestion for developing vision, or that comes from inner to out? How do you say? Okay, but as long as we understand what we mean, because we can discuss the whole evening about how to put it, but we mean this Buddhic vision, this Buddhic insight that you have to prepare yourself to get this, to understand this, and probably that is a lot of hard work, not only in one incarnation, but that's okay. But my first question is, do you agree with these clusters? Do you see any other clusters? Yeah? Because then we can, so the preparation, starting today, the moment, and addressing those who are grieving.
Yesterday we talked about education.
Yes.
And I think the education starts not on the end of life, but during whole life.
Yes.
I think, yeah, that might be a good point as well.
Yeah, yeah. And, but let's see. I think we have it in there. We talk about education, about what life really is,
yeah.
and you also say it's a whole life effort. So that's what we actually meant with starting today. So you don't have to wait for any moment.
Okay, that's
you can
right.
just start in the here, now, and it's an everyday thing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if we can then cluster it a bit. Then maybe it becomes more clear. Or you have an important comment about clusters?
Maybe I have one idea for a cluster, because I do see a lot of things referring to the higher self, so the higher part. I don't know if that should be a different cluster, because it's in there in several points when I read it there. So
well,
maybe we can see through the process whether that's necessary to have it separate.
Yeah, okay. Okay, maybe we can just start from the top and then see, for instance, there you have your higher part, taking from the higher part that knows to the higher part that knows in the other person, and not to fit, and not to the personality that fears. I'm sorry, talking. So there you see the resonance, and that, I think, addresses what you do in the moment when someone is in the moment of dying. Is that? Yeah, so we can, yeah. Okay. Next one is being your higher self, so the other will be in his higher self. I guess that's almost the same, right?
This is not really coming from me, but the other cluster that should be in there is addressing after the moment of death.
Yes, addressing, yeah.
But it's not there.
Yeah,
the
okay,
bardo.
Good, yeah. Addressing and those who grieve, right?
No. You have the moment of death.
Yes.
And perhaps if you're using the model of the bardo, they see the light, everything is good. But that's not all that happens. And so when people are afraid of dying, part of the fear is what's going to happen. And the other completion of that cycle is what is happening after the death process that leads back to the birth process, that then gives them a sense of fullness in terms of understanding. So the moment of death is whatever their perception is at that moment. But then, according to theosophical principle, they have to be taken apart. They have to go through the purgatory process. They have to go through the gestation process. They have to leave behind the remnants. They have to experience that devaconic state. They have to get that prevision. They have to gather their skandhas. They have to pop back in. And so the knowledge of death should include not only the moment of death and what happens to the consciousness, but the fulfilling process.
I think that is part of the preparation, Because
Is it?
Yeah, because we have somewhere, we have, it's somewhere in there that we no, I don't mean that one. I mean that we prepare ourselves to understand this whole process. Where?
Which?
Tell me the color. Yeah, there's another one.
And understanding of death, life, and dying to serve others.
Okay. Maybe, oh no, it's that the blue one, the third one on top. Understanding the process of dying first, because we have to understand that. We have to prepare ourselves to understand that.
Okay, this is also true.
That's the one I meant. So we have to understand that complete process, because we're not only talking about one moment, we are talking about this entire process. Yeah, okay, the complete process. Okay, we can put it in, yeah? Hier, bij deze. De derde. Ja. Ja, nog een, okay. And I think that one belongs to that preparation phase then. Preparing yourself. You have to prepare yourself to get insight in what is going on, how this process works, right? So, wil je die daarheen slepen?
Gene, what do you thought by the moment? What do you think thought by the moment? This.
I'm not understanding quite what you're asking me.
Because you were talking about all the processes after the moment.
Yes.
But I think we meant with the moment that, like you said, you have to discern what stage somebody is in to know what help is. So we talk about the moment somebody is about to die. It doesn't help to give full explanations, but then it is be your higher self, so to say. So that is what we meant with the moment.
Right, which was different than the complete understanding of the process. To me, the moment of death is the encounter with the entity death, the experience in the moment of death. And that is an existential but real encounter that can be experienced. So, but that's fine. The individual experiencing it may not be experiencing the higher self, and that's okay. But the moment of death is like the moment of love. It's an experience that is real, that embraces the totality of the moment, which may not be any of that, but that's just my perception. But that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
I would like to see start today asking questions and learning to redirect our identification from the personality to the higher consciousness.
Well,
Yeah,
so
I'd like to see it, this is the beginning.
Number one, yeah.
So,
start today.
Yeah,
yes.
Start today as the starting point.
Yes.
But yeah,
I know it is a directive, but we do need a directive.
But do you? I thought, do you need? Because this means like you can start today already talking about to anybody, to your neighbors, about like essential questions, like we said, like talking about what life really is, what a human being is, but to start with that, you have to prepare a vision first, right? So you have to prepare yourself to start doing this. Do it make sense?
You do make sense, but to prepare yourself, you have also to ask questions.
Yeah.
This is a basic process of self-knowledge.
So, yeah. Yeah, so we have a clear vision of the clusters. Yeah. Yeah? Yeah?
Part of what we've been talking about is, to put it simply, being there for the person who's dying in a way that is genuinely supportive and helpful. They die, the physical body ceases. We have to be there after that also, because that's not, as Jean was saying, that's not the end of the process. And somewhere that needs to, I think, be indicated.
But to make me understand, so when people die, at least what my understanding is, that we do not have, I mean, on a sympathetic, really higher level, we might have contact, but actually it's not really advised to. So, talking from the person that dies, that goes through these phases, there's not much helping there, right? I mean,
well,
helping is for the person that undergoes the process, the people around.
There is and there isn't. Think of the advice, you leave the body alone and quiet for 8 hours at least. Perhaps longer.
Yeah, but
that's quite different from
but
holding a brass band right there after the person has just died.
Yeah.
So there are things to do and not do, and if it has absolutely no connection with what's happening, then why bother?
Yeah.
But obviously we are to bother. So there is maybe not a connection, but there can be, so to speak, an atmospheric influence or something like that.
Yeah. So, and wouldn't that be, because we thought about that when we discussed the moment of dying, so that's really essential. And of course, this is not only the split of second that really death takes place, and we even don't know when that is, but this, let's say, the whole process going on with panoramic vision included, etc. Yeah.
Erwin, why not making 3 steps? Before the moment, and after the moment. Okay. So then you have 3, I think, clear situations, and then you can start to move around with your lines and put them on the right place.
Yeah. So then your suggestion is?
You created another problem, so you're going to have to make me talk.
He doesn't want to say that you otherwise never will talk.
He's goading you. He is. It's a setup.
Yeah, but that's not really. But I think before, what is before? Because before, does it address the person?
Well, that is simple. That means starting now today. That is before.
Yeah.
What do you have to do on the moment a person is in the process of dying, does something, and what you have to do after he is dying. Let's say dying means that he disappears from this outer world. Yeah?
Okay. Okay, so I have a suggestion. We just call, because I think that's clear. So we call that starting today. Is that okay?
No.
Because that's
before,
what you can do every.
Before, at the moment, after the moment.
Okay. Yeah.
No.
We can do that.
Yes, you have before the moment, but that has 2 parts. First, when there is not someone who is dying, when you don't know yet that one is dying, you have to prepare your whole life, understanding better what the cycle of dying is. And that is what you put there. Start today. Even if no one is dying and you're not dying, knowing that. And then you have the phase that someone is dying, and that is, he is gonna die. And that is another phase with other lines you have here. And then the moment of death, and then after that. And someone said, when someone is dead, then what the persons staying behind do is not important. But that isn't true. We talked in our group about the fact that the grieving can influence the dying person. So you have to take that in account as well when you talk about the grievers. Yes, so it is in fact 4 things. Yes.
On the risk of having a divorce, I think we have to keep it simple. Because if we don't keep it simple, I think we are only ready tomorrow on 9 o'clock. Yeah? So if you say before, later on you can also differentiate what is before. Yeah? But at least you have to start, cut it in 3 pieces, and then you have a little bit of shrink, and then you can start to put all details in it.
Okay.
Now I have a divorce with Jean.
No.
Moment.
But Herman, the difficulty now is I see a whole bunch of woolen threads and I cannot knit a scarf of it.
So you have to start with something simple.
Okay.
Simple.
Do that.
Okay.
Yeah, do that. Come on, boys.
We've done it. It's already there. It's already there. Okay. Okay. Let's go then. Let's don't make it any more difficult because we have about 20 minutes.
Okay, but so, all right.
And we have some clustering to do.
But not
so we have
to make it
about 1 minute for every
okay, 1 minute.
Point.
1 minute.
Yeah.
Honoring the dead, which is after the moment of death, and is different than addressing the grieving, because what we're doing in honoring them is allowing that review to occur in silence, in peace, non-disturbed. So the moment of death is for the ego, and then after that moment, there is the review, there is the processing, and then the beginning of the death process. So honoring that the dead is basically that time that is being referred to in terms of silence, in terms of prayer, in terms of whatever it is that you're going to do that helps them assimilate their life experience.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's start with this, and we can check later if we need some more detail. Okay. So before we can say preparing yourself and starting today, right? So als je en dan kan je die tik. Okay, give the dying person his dignity back by emphasizing that they can choose how to deal with the situation. That is in the moment, right? Okay. Understanding the complete process of dying first, that is what you need to do before. Agree? Okay. Make decision and think in terms of many lives. Okay, before. Help someone prepare for panoramic vision by reviewing memories of past life together to draw meaning from that. Moment. It's I guess before, but it's you might say it is sort of the start of the moment, right? I mean, if someone is already in the process of dying, maybe we can call that, define that as the moment. So I would say the moment, because it's part of when somebody is already in the process of dying. Do you agree? Yeah? Doe maar. Okay.
The moment?
Ja, de eerste van de moment. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Create an open and friendly atmosphere. Always.
We'll leave it.
Okay. Be there in silence and connect at the Buddhic level. Moment. Addressing the grieving, interconnectedness will always remain. Realizing that intervention in life and death has consequences. Be aware of being part of the living whole, that thoughts and actions work from one to all others, and that you are therefore necessary and bear responsibility for others and support them. Before, yeah, or so we can make a cluster always, if you like. Yeah. Okay. And then we can put these two in. Yeah. Okay. What about the Gita? I won't do it in Sanskrit. I'm sorry. What about always? After? It's the grieving. It's about the grieving. Yeah.
I recommend the making decisions and thinking in terms of many lives also always.
Where is that?
Now it's at before, the second one.
Oh, the second one.
But I think that you should always do that.
Agree? Okay. De tweede. Die tweede en die gaan naar always. Ja. Die gaan naar always. Okay. There's something in you that never dies. Know who, what, where, and why 3 times. So that means for the dying person, the family, and yourself, of course. Yes, before. Okay. Yeah. Talk about what a human being really is. Always before. Should we add another category? Okay. Okay. Well, why not always? Okay.
Then always. I heard them all. Then always.
Educate what life really is. Education is before, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Seize the moment with empathy. The moment. Finding the appropriate things to do and say depending on the situation, using creativity, empathy, and compassion. Yeah. Okay, we can copy it if it's that important. Yeah. Okay. Cyclicity, karma, and idea of the higher triad or self.
Before education. Yeah.
Okay. Do I understand why I was born? What is the meaning of my life? Have I completed my purpose? We did it. Oh no. Yeah. What did we miss? And where should that go?
It's obviously got to be before.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be before. But if we're practicing dying with clarity and embracing the always and the before, then the moment and the after are well prepared for.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Erwin,
here come?
Yes, Erika?
Yes, I have a question regarding a moment. We have that topic, which is help someone prepare for a panoramic vision by reviewing memories of past lives. How this can be in the moment? In the moment the person is dying, you expect to do something like this. And that moment of death is very sacred, and the person, it's a solitary journey. How someone would help someone who is dying to have a panoramic vision?
Where are you? Could
A
you
moment. I find generally I find this
this
topic.
One. Okay,
yeah, I find this in general this topic very problematic.
Maybe someone from the group that brought it up could answer that. Yeah, Henk. Yeah, wait. Just a moment.
One moment.
Yes, it was meant before.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
But
everything.
did you mean? I mean, or maybe that's my interpretation that when you review memories from the past life, it suggests already that you're looking back. So.
Well, we had the example of some older men who in a certain way never thought about death. And then, how can you stimulate such a man of a little bit thinking about his life and what was valuable? Well, then ask for his remembrances. What are the most valuable remembrances of you? And how do you see it? What did you learn from it? Hey, and so in that way.
So
it was
to practice
meant.
this looking back, this reflection.
Yeah, by doing it with two.
Okay,
in fact.
clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then you should add one more, valuable memories. Because reviewing memories can see, oh, I was in the army, I was doing this, I was doing that. Yeah?
Is that, here. Valuable.
Yeah. Valuable.
Okay. We have, I think, about 10 minutes to leave enough time for a short break and then Julia's contribution. So we had a few questions, and just for a few questions were about like ethical questions. A few questions were about, okay, what can we do as a theosophical movement, as theosophical organizations? And we thought that it would be better to have more time to give room for these questions. But there are also some check questions, like, okay, have we addressed how to deal with organ transplantation, suicide, things like that? Have we addressed like how is this an answer to issues like people that feel that their life is already fulfilled, completed? So some check questions. If we take them to the back of our mind, maybe we can order them a bit. So you might say that the first one is such a question, the fourth one is such a question, and let's say how can we help people with the issue to put their affairs in order? It could be a check question. Does it answer? So if we take that in the back of our mind, what do we have it on the right side covered? Those questions. What do you mean by check questions? Well, I mean by check questions is if we look at the right side, if we do what is said there, what we came up with all together, prepare ourselves before, being there in the moment, and also being there after for people who are around this process. Do we have this covered then? Because how to deal with organ transplantation, if we go to the right, and if before we talk about, or actually always we educate about what life really is, and that there's something in you that never dies, and that things have consequences, for instance. We also said that we have to make people aware of that? Do we have that covered then, the issues?
There are some details in the Theosophical teachings we didn't address yet. For instance, the fact that everybody is born with a certain amount of life energy.
Okay. Should we put that in?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe, where do you want to put it in?
Before, always.
Yes,
Yeah.
or always? Maybe educate what life really is.
Yeah.
And then this is like something that also is a very important teaching to address the amount of life energy.
And the same thing is about
of life
the
energy.
life atoms. The body is built up of living atoms, life atoms, and that can address the problem of organ transplantation and genetic engineering.
Yeah.
But
so
those are very important teachings. Yeah.
should we do that with the one above? So talk about what a human being really is, and also that we are composed of life atoms, living building blocks.
It's a good idea, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe we should just put in life atoms. So yes, is that okay? Yeah. Okay. But I mean, these are ingredients. That's my question. What ingredients do we miss to address these questions? Mm-hmm. About organ transplantation, about euthanasia, about, well, what all other issues? Kim?
I feel like those answers would come if we clarified, like was said in the keynote address, that the masters ask not for perfection, but for direction. And if we think about HPB's article on psychic and noetic action, that in all of these, if we have the direction towards the noetic, that's what we need. The noetic rather than the psychic. Mm-hmm. And through all of that, when we're considering review, if we might think of Pythagoras' teaching of a review every night of the day, processing and understanding in detail everything that happened that day and its meaning, then in the teachings it says that if we do that properly, then by the time death comes, we're able to be released into the higher life and able to not be bound up with the needs of processing the life from the past. So it seems like that daily practice of directionality towards the noetic and a kind of Pythagorean review would be critical in all these steps. Okay. It's like the basis.
To emphasize that, what do you suggest? What do we miss?
At the basis of always before, during, and after, at that root is direction towards the noetic rather than the psychic.
Shall we put that in always?
In the root.
So always the direction to the noetic part. Yes, that sure. Yeah, direction to the noetic. Well, just leave it like the noetic. Yeah. Okay.
There's something blurred here.
Mm-hmm.
Something like we've got moment. I mean, what is missing is just what are you actually doing to teach this person? Like up there and before where it says cyclicity, karma in a higher triad, that was meant to be the kind of thing you would be teaching or talking to. So that's more of the moment. The moment is the wrong word. It's what you need is, okay, you've got before, then there is the activity of actually interacting with the person. And it's not just a moment, so I just think...
What would you suggest? The interaction with the dying person?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that
do we agree?
I mean, that's the main thing, isn't it? That we're having this connection with the dying person. So something like where it says up there, karma and all that, that's part of what you could be talking about. It's not a before activity.
Okay.
It's an activity that of the interaction.
Okay.
So
I guess that depends also. But let's take what you have two suggestions. So the one is we have to we can name it the moment of interaction with the dying person.
Yeah,
So to make it more clear.
Make it clear that this
Yeah.
is the big thing. This is the big category, and we stripped it
Dus
of
zullen we dat
most of what
clusteren?
we should be focusing on.
Yeah.
It should be the meat.
Yeah.
Sorry, vegetarians, but
The meat.
yeah, or it could be conversation or whatever. And it's not just a moment.
And then, so that's one. And your second
Well,
suggestion?
the other was that you've
is
got
that-
things in before
Yeah.
that should be in the interaction category.
Like cyclicity, karma, and the idea of the higher triad, you said?
Yeah,
But,
what the group discussed that was definitely something that the person might bring up in
But
the interaction.
In our group, we clearly talked about also that somehow you have to first discern where the people are, because some people aren't there yet to talk about cyclicity,
Well,
karma.
that's why we have that finding the appropriate things to do and say. There's a process there.
Yeah, okay.
So, I don't know, it just seemed to me you kind of stripped away the most important part of the whole process.
So, yeah.
So take that karma.
Well,
and
we can just copy the cyclicity, karma, and idea after finding the appropriate things to say. So
Yeah.
So if you have someone who is ready for that, open to that, then that is of course the thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. We have only time for a last remark. Barend?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I didn't see it, but one thing I think it's very important, the fact that you can learn till the last second of your life.
Okay.
And that's very important in relation with euthanasia. And I think that even the last moments, also when you suffer, or maybe even when you're suffering, are very, very important in the relationship with reincarnation, because in your next life you can have an all different direction because of that last moments of before you die.
Okay.
So you can learn till the last seconds of your life.
Before, right?
Before,
Or,
yeah.
So learn that. Yeah. Yeah. Learn.
And I apologize, but I do think, based on what was done before, the moment of death is important. The moment of death, the ego is not directed outwardly. At the moment of death, there is a phase of transition where something is happening that is not with us. That has to be honored, that has to be acknowledged, because that is the moment where the turning in begins. We can screw it up.
Mm-hmm.
We can, as they said already, grieve and yell and scream, and it will impact that moment. I believe that moment, which is different than a moment of interacting until they're dead,
Mm-hmm.
is really important. And even if we can't define it, it should be there, because it's a sacred moment of release.
So where do you suggest we put the?
Again, it would then, if you're going to say the moment of interaction
Yeah.
up until the second of dying,
Yeah.
it's got to go after that.
Yeah, or maybe you could say, or we make it a separate cluster. We can see later, but
And
then
you
we
can,
have
yeah,
it addressed.
you can just put moment of dying, question mark.
Moment of dying, yeah.
Yeah.
Oké, ik zou hem gewoon helemaal aan het begin zetten. Als cluster, zeg maar. Dus gewoon los. Ja, even, we moeten het even afmaken, dus even als apart gewoon moment of dying, vraagteken. Ja.
Erwin, we solved that problem you have now in our group. we talked about the real moment of dying when people were going within themselves, what Jean says, and you see be there in silence and connect at the Buddhic level. And that one of our group members said when her mother was dying. Yes, the last moments there was silence and there was a Buddhic level. And that is what Jean means. And the moment of other interaction, verbal interaction, is before that time. That is in the real dying process.
So you suggest that line goes together with that moment of dying to make it explicit?
And that is what I suggested. You have the dying process and you have the moment of dying. Two different approaches.
And then,
is that what you meant, Jean? Yes.
Okay, well, move the karma down. How do we do that? It's just a matter of time, right? I mean, don't worry. It's covered. It's on the right side. There it is. There you have the karma. Okay, thank you all for your hard work and thinking power together. Of course, this is only a start. And everyone can gets the mind map in PDF via email, so you can think further on that. And so thank you for all the cooperation. We have a short break now, just a stretch break.